Okay, I think we're ready to start. We're going to head to James Cole from Sky Sports News for the first few questions. Over to you, James. Go ahead.
Hi, Jos. How's the weather situation looking out there? What's going on?
It's pretty bleak, to be honest. Could be November in England as opposed to November in Brisbane. So, of course, that's frustrating for everyone. We're very much looking forward to getting out on the field today and playing some cricket. So, hopefully in the next few days it can improve.
What's the forecast looking like?
Not great, I think. It's been pretty indifferent. For the whole time we've been here, we at least managed to get some practice in on the Gold Coast. As the five of us who've come from the World Cup. But yeah, it looks like there's some rain around, but it's just something that you have to deal with. We know that these things can happen. Not usually in Australia, but more so in England. But for all of us, pretty experienced to deal with that. We know got to make best use of any practice you can get, whether that be indoors if it's raining, to give ourselves the best preparation going into the first match.
Yeah, you've not played red ball cricket for, I think, 3 months now. Is the lack of proper preparation for this series a concern?
No, I don't think it is, to be honest. I think in this day and age, I think lots of us jump between formats quite often. I think in the COVID era, things have changed quite a lot as well with quarantine rules and making certain things a little bit trickier. And I do think it's something you just have to be able to deal with now as a modern player. To be able to walk into situations without having what would be traditional and full practice or full preparation for certain series. Going into an Ashes series, granted, you want the best preparation possible. In this case, it's not possible, and that's not going to change, and it's not going to change immediately, or we can't change what's happened in the last few months to improve that. So you have to make sure that every chance you get, you can prepare, and mentally as much as anything, to switch yourself on to when that first ball comes down, that you're ready to go.
Also, the COVID situation is changing again with the discovery of a new variant. Is that a worry for you and the team?
I think so, but not just for cricket. I think just more for sort of wishing life to go back to what we used to know as normal. I think sort of, especially in England, sort of coming through some hard times and with the majority of the population vaccinated, is sort of getting back to something that resembled a bit of normality. So it's a big setback for everyone, not just in cricket. And it's just another one of those things that as a player you have to find a way to deal with it. I think it's important to be able to park that once you cross the boundary rope, throwing yourselves fully into the cricket, being fully immersed in that. And in a little way, I think you can use cricket as an escape in this kind of situation. What goes on around COVID, we have no control over. But once you get to the cricket ground and you're batting or you're bowling or you're taking part in a match, you can certainly take yourself away from any worries what's going on in the rest of the world and just immerse yourself in the game.
Tightening of border controls between states could mean your families can't travel between states. This was obviously something you guys sought to clarify before you went on the tour. Would you have reservations about playing and staying out there if that became the case?
No, I don't know any information on that at the moment. I think as the days unravel, I'm sure we'll get more information. Getting the families out there was a huge part of the initial negotiations, I guess, and it's been a huge help to have them here with us, and we want them to be able to travel around with us. So I'm sure if we are allowed to move interstate, I don't see why the families who are part of our bubble wouldn't be allowed to move interstate with us.
But if they couldn't, would that, for you, change your situation in terms of what you've committed to?
Potentially, but again, it's a hypothetical situation at the minute. And until I get told that something's changed, there's no decision to make, and just adds to the unknown. So things I don't really need to worry about at the moment. If something like that happens, I have to get the information and we can sort of work through it and see how that looks. But until that point, I think today is the first day we're allowed out of our quarantine and just going to try and enjoy the freedoms of the simple things of just getting outside the hotel.
Okay, thanks, Jos. I hope the weather improves.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, James. We're going to go to Henry Moran at the BBC. Go ahead, Henry.
Thank you very much, Jos. Thanks for your time. You look at arrivals into Australia, most of the broadcasters are following this game from Sydney and Melbourne. Is there a frustration amongst the players that you're having to go through these quarantine experiences in Brisbane when other people coming into the country aren't having to do the same?
To an extent, I guess. Probably even more so when you're travelling from a bubble at a World Cup. But we knew the rules when we signed up to come. So there's no point holding on to those frustrations or anything. I think it's been done now. We've done our quarantine period. We're here in Brisbane with the rest of the squad. And bar the weather, we'd be taking full part in a game today. So I'd like to focus more on that kind of stuff. And again, I think it's really important moving into an Ashes series, whichever side it is or individual, the better you can deal with the off-field distractions and frustrations. I see that as being a huge part of the series, whichever side can deal with that the best.
And on that, does the lack of preparation affect things? And which side, of course it affects things, but which side do you think will perhaps benefit from the situation we're seeing with the lack of opportunity for practice?
I think the side that benefits will do exactly what I just mentioned in the previous question. It'll be the side that doesn't take an issue with it. It'll be the side that makes the most of every opportunity they've had to practice. The team that doesn't worry about it. I don't even see the point of worrying about trying to become a weatherman and predict the weather or change the weather or change quarantines or what's happened. What's happened. We're here. It's nearly the start of December, and we're about a week away from the first Ashes test. So that's very exciting, and that gives people a lot of energy as well. And like you say, whichever side can handle that sort of stuff the best. The first test of any series is incredibly important. So I don't think any team should be using that as excuses. We all know it's not been perfect, but you can still turn up on that day and play really well and play a great test match.
I just find it feels like there's been a reasonable amount of negativity in some of the aspects, but this is a week away from an Ashes series. How excited are you? How excited is the England team about what's to come?
Yeah, I think that excitement really builds today. Certainly 5 of us have been in the Gold Coast, sort of away from the main group. So today it's great to see those faces as we arrived at the hotel and feel like an Ashes squad. Can all get back together. We'll start practicing together. And as you say, it's in a way it's quite surreal that there's a match starting in nearly a week's time. So I'm sure everyone involved in the game of cricket is really excited by that prospect, to see some action on the field, start talking about people's performances, teams' performances, and seeing a great battle at the Gabba.
Cheers, Jos.
Okay. Thanks, Henry. We're going to move on to Australian media outlets. We'll start with Josh McLean and then Duncan Huntsdale. Go ahead, Josh.
Thanks, Danny. Hi, Jos. Mate, there's been so much upheaval in the Australian team over the last week with the Tim Payne situation. They've got a new captain. Have you guys looked at that and thought we could really get the upper hand and get on top with an unstable Australia, or have you not focused on that?
No, I think as a side, we tend to try and focus on ourselves as much as we can. Of course, we plan against an opposition, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. But in those kind of things, we want to focus a lot on ourselves. We want to focus on our preparation, albeit that as sort of unique as that's been, to make that as best as possible, especially in this week leading up to the first game, and not to focus too much on what's going on with Australia. I think probably both sides are excited for the cricket to start and for the off-field distractions to sort of hopefully move into the background, and we can start really talking about some great cricket on the field. I think the Ashes series, they're always fantastic. There's always seems to be certain things that happen before Ashes series, and as players, it's very important that you don't get too drawn into that or too drawn into what the opposition are doing, and give yourself the best chance as an individual and as a team to play really well on the day.
Have you ever seen an Ashes that's had such a build-up for both sides, dominated by topics off-field rather than what's going to happen on-field?
Not in my memory. Of course, every Ashes series seems to have something happen, doesn't it? And it's all part of the great drama which makes it a fantastic series. I think the rivalry between the two teams is brilliant, and I think we're all excited for another really competitive and fierce series. And Australia will be a confident team, having, albeit in a different format, just won a World Cup, so they'll be riding high off the back of that, and we're excited to take part and be trying to win that first test at the Gabba. So both teams are really excited by the cricket starting, and around the Ashes there's always certain things go on, and as I've mentioned earlier in this call, the guys that can sort of park off-field issues or deal with the distractions an Ashes series throws up, and perform well when the ball's being delivered is the team that's going to play the best.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Let's go to Duncan Huntsdale and then Andrew McGlashan. Duncan, are you there? We'll come back to Duncan.
Okay, sorry, you got me there, Danny?
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Duncan. Yeah, no worries.
Sorry, Danny. Good morning, Jos. A lot of talk about whether the Perth test is going to be able to go ahead due to border restrictions. And there's been other venues on the eastern seaboard, Sydney, Melbourne, Hobart have put the hand up. If the Perth test can't go ahead, does the England team have a preference of where you'd like to play that test?
No, I haven't. Certainly, as an individual, I don't have any preference, and I don't know about the rest of the guys. I haven't thought too much about that. Again, the sort of hypothetical situations are, in my eyes, don't have much to do with me at the moment. And the guys who are going to make those decisions, sort of leave them to make those decisions, and of course they'll be in the best interests of both teams. And the game will take place wherever. I think this is quite a unique Ashes series already with the COVID restrictions and the period of time we've been living in for the last 2 years. So I think, if anything, we've all learned from that not to think too far ahead with the way things can change very quickly. The Perth test, I've not been part of an Ashes series in Australia, but the Perth test is always a fantastic game. It'll be a great shame if the game can't be played in Perth, as Perth is such a great ground to play that. The new stadium is fantastic, and it'll be a fantastic event, an Ashes series at that ground. So fingers crossed that things improve and the tour can run as scheduled.
Thank you, Jos.
Thank you, Duncan. Let's go to Andrew McGlashan and Louis Cameron, please.
Thanks, Danny. Hey, Josh. You haven't played a test match out here in Australia before, but you've had a reasonable amount of white ball experience. Is that something you can dip into from the memory bank in the midst of this lack of preparation as you head into the Gabba?
Yeah, I think I have to. I think, like you say, I've not played a red ball game out here, bar some Lions cricket, a number of years ago. But I've been to Australia quite a few times and played ODIs, T20s, and the Big Bash as well. So familiarity with some conditions there is obviously something I can dip into and sort of hopefully not be surprised by. But I think the challenge always as a player is to adapt to any condition that's in front of you and adapt quickly. So, of course, the practice, when you can practice, is incredibly important for that. When you first sort of 5-10 balls are vital as a player to understanding the conditions in front of you and playing accordingly. But I certainly will try and dip into that experience. And early 30s now, so I've played a bit of cricket and hopefully know what to expect.
And just on your sort of where you sit in Test cricket at the moment, obviously this year's been a bit disjointed for you with a resting rotation. You were playing the IPL and then you missed the most recent Test in England for the birth of your child. It came off what was a really good 2020 season for you, particularly at home. Where do you feel you sit at the moment as a Test match cricketer?
I feel like I sit with nothing to lose, to be honest. I think, like you say, it's sort of been a disjointed year, the one just gone. There's some good form, some bad form. The same the year before as well. So But I certainly have nothing to lose. I come here the first time I'm experiencing an Ashes series, so I'm fully determined to enjoy all the challenges that throws up. I'm excited to experience it, the good, the bad, and I'm sure the highs and lows along the way. But as a player at the minute, I think I come here very trying to bring a sort of fearless approach and to really try and embrace the opportunity. Sort of like I said, I don't feel like I've got anything to lose from going out there and trying to give it my best for the team. So sort of feel like I'm at that sort of stage in my career with nothing to lose, but to give my best. And I want to know when I get to somewhere near my best, that's going to be pretty good.
Thanks, Jos.
Cheers, Andy. Let's go with Louis and then Ed Jackson.
Hi, Jos. No doubt you'll know Australia are picking a new wicketkeeper for this Ashes series, and they'll obviously be wrestling with the question of, I guess, whether batting or wicket-keeping is more important. When you consider your own place in the Test team, Jos, what do you think's more important, mate?
Well, I think Adam Gilchrist sort of ruined it for everyone, didn't he? Really, you've got to be brilliant at both. But certainly, I think you feel the pressure as a wicketkeeper, knowing you're the only wicketkeeper on the team. So that position, of course, is incredibly vital. So trying to take every chance that comes your way. You're the only guy with the gloves on. So I think that certainly, as an individual, I feel that probably try and lean sometimes with my practice more towards the wicket keeping as well, just because everyone's going to bat. That. So you're desperate as the one guy with the gloves on to make sure you perform to the best of your abilities for the team. So, but again, it's like I said, this day and age, and since Gilchrist sort of tipped it upside down for everyone, you've got to be brilliant at both.
And just another on the Perth Test, if I may, and I know I respect that you don't want to kind of dive into all the hypotheticals, Jos, but would you be willing to play that test under some form of quarantine if it came to it?
Again, I don't know. I don't know what sort of, we can sit here and come up with situations and say you have to quarantine here or you have to be in a strict bubble or whatever. But I find it tiring really to talk about it when you don't know. So when someone can come with a bit more information and you know what kind of decision you're making, and that becomes easier to know how you feel about something. So that's not for me to worry about at the minute. I appreciate I'm not really giving you an answer, but for me, I don't see the point in me coming up with ideas of what it might look like to play in Perth. So there's a week to go to the first test here, and all your energies are focused on that. We know that one's definitely going to be going ahead in a week's time, so looking forward to it.
Good luck, mate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, last question. Mel Farrell, please.
Thanks, Danny. Hey, Jos. I appreciate all you said as well. Sort of just wondering though, how would you feel about playing a second day-night test? Because that, if Perth doesn't go ahead, if it's held on the eastern seaboard, there's a pretty good chance it would be another pink ball day-night test. How confident are you in that format, in the team's ability to play a second pink ball test if that is the case?
Yeah, but I'm confident with our team with whichever colour the ball is. I think I've never played a pink ball test, I don't think, but so I know, having watched the game at Adelaide, it's a great occasion, and if there's one place in the world where sort of day-night test match cricket sort of seems to work, it looks like it's Australia the best, I'd say. So I'm only saying that as from a sort of spectator's point of view. But again, it would just make for an incredibly unique Ashes series. Again, I think it's already unique. It's already different. I think the traditionalists would love it to be probably 5 Red Bull games. But if that had to happen, or that was what was in the best interest of the games and everything going ahead and running smoothly, then you'd have to be open to it. But that's only my individual opinion.
And just also, it's no secret that every team likes to be able to target the opposing captain and get them out. And I'm sure Australia will be looking at Joe Root and wanting to sort of stamp their authority. Does it change things a little bit having a team facing a team that has a bowling captain, and do you sort of switch and think, well, you want to try and get on top of him when you're batting, as opposed to worrying about him while he's holding the bat himself?
I don't know, to be honest. Like I said, there's not been a load of bowling captains, I guess. I'm sure Pat Cummins would say he's an all-rounder as well, even though he's probably more of a bowler. So you're going to see some great contests, aren't you? Throw up sort of captain v captain as well, battling it out, which I'm sure will, for you guys in the media, will be great to write about. And we know Pat Cummins is a fantastic cricketer. I'm sure he'll do a great job as Australian captain. And yeah, the same with every player you play against. You need to try and get on top of them and not allow them to perform at their best to try and beat the opposition.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks everyone. We'll let you know tomorrow state of play if we're going to get on. If not, he'll do media tomorrow in the morning, all being well. But we'll be in touch later. Thanks everyone. Have a good day. Cheers.
Thank you.